we're teaching, we're alive, we're like diamonds in the sky. Teach right like a diamond.
Skina, Rinky, dinky, dink, Skina, Rinky, do. I love school. Skina, Rinky, dinky, dink, Skina, Rinky, do. I love school. I love it in the morning and in the afternoon. I love remote teaching or in the classroom. Skina, Rinky, dinky, dink, Skina, Rinky, do. I love school. But we may not love getting evaluated. Coming up in this week's Gem, Good Vibes, Education, and Motivation. Hello, fellow fellows and fellow educators. This is Diamond Emerald bringing you another Gem, Good Vibes, Education, and Motivation. Let's jump into it. So our new evaluation system is what I'm bringing you today. I want to see if I can get this done in nitty gritty 7 minutes, right? I went to 2 different PDs about this. Both were about an hour each. Let's see if I can do it in under 7 and get you exactly what you need to know. So advanced is the teacher rating system for New York City teachers, but in general, this should apply to every educator in America because we're all using that Danielson Framework. Even if that's not what you're strictly rated on for your observation, that is the model for best teaching practices for exemplar teaching during one lesson. We know that Danielson did not design this to be used as a measure of teacher performance on an everyday basis. But what we're looking at, this document now, they already stated, is for school year 2020 to 2021 only. So just note that, whatever we're doing next year will change. But they've worked to adapt this document and to adapt the observation system so that it would be supported for teachers in this new environment. So snaps to that. I'm going to skip the first section, which talks basically about who's eligible for this teacher observation rating and who is not. So note, not every person who's in our building is going to be rated on this system, but the majority of us are. So the components that are new. Mazel selection, the measure of student learning. This was the criteria that was used to basically give us part of our teacher score. The thing that I want to note that's most important here is they annotated what's new, but that all teachers are given all teachers at a given school will receive the same measure. There will be no teacher level model selections in the school year 2020 to 2021. Before, different departments could choose which state test, for instance, they would use as a measure of their performance. However, this does help us, and I want to explain why. They talked about the law of averages, and as if we flip a coin, there are 5 coins and we flip them, there will be a preponderance of evidence. There will be a majority if we take 5 coins, right? And flip them, heads or tails. But if we take a set of 500 coins and flip those coins, heads or tails, there's a greater possibility that the end result will be 50-50. In that way, this basically starts us out as average, or on the Danielson scale, developing, so that it can only help us reach a highly effective or an effective. It doesn't necessarily hurt us. So this is a good thing. All right, I'm gonna skip down to the MOTP, measures of teacher performance and practice, Now we're getting into the framework. This is hyperlinked to the Danielson Framework from Teaching from 2013, which you should already have downloaded on your computer. If not, get that done. The components that we're measuring, the components that are being rated are 1A, demonstrating knowledge of content and pedagogy. 1E, designing coherent instruction. 2A, creating an environment of respect and rapport. 2D, managing student behavior. 3B, using questioning and discussion techniques. 3C, engaging students in learning. 3D, using assessment and instruction. And 4E, growing and developing professionally. Then there's a note about 3C. I want to go explain each one of these domains quickly. Demonstrating knowledge of content and pedagogy. If you make a mistake, if you make a content error in your instruction, you will lose points here. Designing coherent instruction. If there are no timestamps in your lesson, you will lose points here. If your activities don't follow a logical projection, like an I do, we do, you do, you will lose points there. 2A, creating an environment of respect and rapport. If you say something that is negative, or a child gets offended, or you're not doing any positive affirmations or demonstrating that you like the kids and they like you, you'll lose points there. But actually, let's talk about gaining points, right? To demonstrate knowledge of content and pedagogy, have someone else check your content before you teach that lesson. To make sure that you're designing coherent instruction, make sure that you have timestamps and that the flow makes sense. For creating an environment of respect and rapport, start out with something strong like a meditation, a greeting, use threshold to see each child. Managing student behavior, this looks different in person and online. But make sure that you have a system. Embed that into your lesson plan to note if you have to prompt a student to get their camera on, or maybe you have to prompt a student to follow the directions in class. It'll look different, but make sure that you're attending to it. 3B, using questioning and discussion techniques. Make sure that there's at least a few questions throughout your lesson plan to elicit student response. We don't know what students know unless we ask them. And lean back on those old techniques that you used before. They can be used again. 3C, engaging students in learning. Here we go. Here's the big one, right? This is where we need students to demonstrate knowledge, that they've shown and learned something. And so here we go. Over here, it says new for 3C, engaging students in learning. Teachers will provide engaging opportunities, promote teamwork, yes, even in person, use engaging materials like, slideshows that are engaging, use Canva, use those templates, and give students time, there we go with those timestamps, to reflect on learning, especially in a remote environment and in remote settings for school year 2020 to 21. For more on observing and evaluating 3C, please review the advanced resources in the Info Hub. So hyperlink to this, we have a website with other resources, but guess what? I'm a resource for you as well. When my students enter the classroom, they have a chance to win because I'm engaging them in an activity that lets them see pictures and identify pictures. Then I'm engaging them again by having them repeat their superpowers or a phrase that I've taught them. Or engaging with a meditation because I always ask them to participate in some way. The key here is that engagement differs in terms of it being effective or highly effective. Now, what I'm going to say really quickly is if I say that I'm giving my students chances to engage by demonstrating with their hand if this equation has a positive slope or a negative slope, and I know that Timmy has not turned his camera on like ever, that's not a valuable opportunity for engagement. Think of another way you can elicit response from Timmy, right? Maybe Christina's gonna be doing it, but maybe Evelyn's not. So make sure that you know how each student's engaged in your class and give them those opportunities. So then afterwards, you can justify, this is why I had them write in the chat, right? And if I have a student with a lower reading level, I'm not gonna ask them to write a paragraph in the chat. I'm going to ask them to identify a correct or incorrect answer or to unmute and speak to me, right? I'm demonstrating my skills as an educator with my students. Excuse me. And then we have using assessment in instructions. What I just mentioned, that's my 7 minutes. Let's see how fast we can get with this. What I mentioned already was a way to use assessment in instruction. If you know how your students engage, you're already using that assessment. But we should also have some data. Even if students aren't showing up, that's data. That's assessment, that they're having trouble engaging in some way. And finally, growing and developing professionally. There are access to BDs that you can partake in that include things that you've done before this evaluation system came up. And I'm also part of that extreme teachers community, which is an amazing community of PDs. So I just wanted to go briefly about those rated components. Your principal has training on this. This document is given, we all have access to as teachers and union members and DOE teachers, right? And it goes through the minimum number of observations, how many you need, right? The timings of them, when you need to select those dates, right? And the opportunities for those observations, right? So they can start Tuesday, March 9th through June 10th. And the kicker here that's really exciting is that you can submit a video. I'm gonna talk more about that in another gem. And I can teach you how to slay your lesson virtually because I've been training teachers how to do that before the pandemic. It doesn't matter what observation scale we're using, what rating scale we're using. You've been teaching, you've been being evaluated. This isn't new to you. been assessed before. It just may look different. So tap into your old strengths, extreme teacher. Tap into your old strength, veteran teacher. Tap into your new strengths, new teacher. If you're great at making that respect and rapport happen, focus on that. They can't write everything at the same time. They can't. That's another part of those notes. Lean into this. Look at this as an opportunity to show the people who aren't doing this every day, not only how difficult it is, but how we're making it work. Let's impress them. Let's lean on each other. Fear not, shine bright. Have a wonderful, wonderful week.